We've debated this for a long time. So I guess the question is, what does the debate get us? You know, I see the value of debate at this point. You know, 2 years ago, if you'd asked me this question, I would say, hey man, if I get to talk about this in a serious fashion at all before Congress, I'll be happy. Well, now I'm there. You know, now that's where we are now. So, you know, I've been growing increasingly impatient about this issue. And I think that we absolutely are beyond the point where we need to have some kind of, you know, I think having an open debate is helpful. And the fact that people are starting, the fact that people actually feel like they can debate it now, that's very helpful. As a real solution, that's great. My job as an advocate, when that happens, is to start banging my shoe on the table and say, this has to happen now. There's no other choice. Sir, you had a question?
Is there any major public campaign to out people who use marijuana?
No way.
Wouldn't that be a great way to, just like the lesbian, gay, and transgender movement, people came out and they started, you know, parades, and people, in a way, you know, they're like, yes, we're here, and there's nothing you can do about it.
You mean encouraging people to out themselves?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But is there any major campaign done right now?
You know, I mean, that's a great question, and I think that it's sorely needed. I mean, I think that, you know, I think it would be very helpful to have a commercial out there that had Brad Pitt, that had Brangelina there going, yeah, we like to smoke pot and that actually relaxes us. And that would be hugely helpful. Obviously, I thought you were talking about outing people, affirmatively outing other
like
people.
Coming out.
Yeah, no, because I think the other thing is it's not at all helpful. Outing people as marijuana smokers, they just run from. You see this with celebrities all the time. They get outed by law enforcement or they run, right? Their agents tell them to run.
Just as on the federal level, we're all still talking about like 2010 and beyond numbers, right? This is legislative session. So.
I aim basically at. My goal for this session is to get a bill introduced, a bill to tax and regulate marijuana, introduced at the federal level. And that's never been done before. It's never actually, so that will be historic unto itself. Just introducing that legislation will be historic, because that's never happened. So having something out there where people talk about it, and we're discussing it, that's going to be hugely helpful. No, my time horizon at this point is basically 2013. I think we could actually have a serious debate and maybe even pass a bill in 2013 or 2014. Now the catch is, you know, when marijuana gets legalized, it won't be because I was on the Hill advocating for it, and it won't even be because NORML, which has been around a lot longer than we have, 3 times as long, I think, maybe 4 times as long, I don't know. It won't be because of them, and it won't be because of Ethan. We will all contribute to the great work that you guys are doing, that everybody else is doing. But it's circumstances outside of our control that are going to do it. And you know, we've already seen this with the economic arguments, with the economic problems we've had. It could very well be that we will have some major economic meltdown in the next year. I mean, these collateralized debt obligations are floating all over the world. They're absolutely toxic. But our economy is so overinflated. I mean, it's just we are completely overconsumed as a people. And what do you, I mean, if you value your, you know, if you value.
I'm sorry, we're distracted. There's like a 3-inch coffee right there.
Oh my God, nice.
It's all good. Take care of it.
Nice, all right.
Just, that's why we're distracted. Just a big coffee.
Awesome.
Anyways, back to
I'm going to call PETA on you and kill it.
The other question I was going to ask is, I mean, as far as your ideal situation, it's not going to like you, but as far as your ideal situation for like how the legislature, how it would work out, would you rather have it be like Nixon, when Nixon could go to China situation where a Republican shows up on Thursday or a Democrat majority thing pushed through, or I mean, what's your ideal?
I mean, I think my ideal, a good friend of mine who is a bona fide genius, and he actually was around at the time that the Congress had passed mandatory minimums and passed the crime bill in 1986. He was involved in all that. And he was involved in it from the perspective of being a Republican staff. And at the time, a lot of people forget, you know, it's really easy to blame Republicans. I mean, I do it all the time. It's very simple to blame Republicans, but in fact, a lot of people forget that it was the Democrats who passed these terrible laws. It was the Democrats who gave us mandatory minimums. It was the Democrats who gave us the crack cocaine powder conspiracy. You know, and it's absolutely criminal. And who was it in the Democratic caucus? Of all people, it was the Congressional Black Caucus. Because, you know, there's this huge explosion, supposedly explosion of drugs and crime in the neighborhood, and it's like, things are out of control. And you know, communities are coming to the congressman and saying, we need some action here, we need to change something. What are you going to do for action? You go, well, that drug dealer, that person is a drug dealer. They had some crack and they only had 5 grams, but let's make them a felon. Yeah, let's throw them away for a long time. And that's how it happened. You know, to answer your question, my genius friend said this. He said, what you ought to do, because I was telling him about my game theory formulation, he thought that was a good analogy. He said that what you ought to do is get a bill out there that the public, text is public, but the co-sponsorship is secret. So have a trusted individual, like the House chaplain, let's say, keep the list of co-sponsors. And I'm telling him, there's a silenced majority out there. I used to use the phrase silent majority until I realized that Richard Nixon actually coined the phrase to describe the people who were secretly in favor of the Vietnam War. So I've changed that phrase to the silenced majority, which actually even describes the problem better, right? It describes it even more accurately, because we are, those of us who have believed in reform of these laws for years have been silenced. We've been told, you're a criminal, you're a loser, don't talk about that, you're going to get in trouble. Even talking about the policy of it, right? And so we've had a silenced majority out there. So I'm explaining this problem to him. He said, you have the secret list, and the trustworthy person who's seeking. No, it's never been done. And I'm trying to do it now, actually. I'm trying to figure it out. Yeah, it's awesome. I'm trying to figure out how to make that happen. But we may do that at some point, and have a secret list, and we would have an agreement with the primary sponsor of the bill that the bill text will be, the bill co-sponsorship will become public when there are 20 Democrats and 20 Republicans on the bill. And we may very well do something like that. It's never been done before, but
the tax and regulate?
yes, yeah, it would be legalizing it. Yes.
I may have missed, came in late, but talking about Republicans, I was wondering if you talk about, I think his name is Terry Goddard, the Attorney General of Arizona.
Yeah, sure.
And if you guys have done any work with him, because I know he's Republican,
sure.
Penn State.
Yes.
And they're dealing with it as worse as bad as anything.
Well, it was Goddard who said, I believe in December, that he thought, and speaking of the silenced majority, it was Goddard who said he thought that we ought to have a discussion about legalizing marijuana because the cartels are making so much in profits from it. They're making such exorbitant profits from it. Maybe we ought to talk about taxing and regulating it. Maybe we talk about legalizing it. And he took some hits for that. Forgive the fun, please. But he took some hits for that. But yet, even though he took some hits for it, and even though he's running for governor in Arizona, when he was at a hearing a couple of weeks ago with Chairman Durbin, and Chairman Durbin asked a question of him about legalizing marijuana. What kind of solution would it be to legalize marijuana? How far in terms of solution would that get us for the Mexican cartel problem? And Goddard said, well, we ought to talk about this. We ought to talk about legalizing because the cartels make 70% of their profits from it. So in fact, yes, we have worked with Goddard and we'll continue to. And he is a very good, credible advocate for it because as I was saying earlier, you probably missed this, in the Tucson sector of the southwest border, they are so overwhelmed. The federal law enforcement authorities controlling the border there are so overwhelmed that they let 500-pound trucks of marijuana, they let the people driving them go free. They seize the weed, but they let them go free. And sometimes they just let them roll through because they think that it's a distracting mechanism by the cartels. It is actually oftentimes. Questions? Any other questions?
So do you feel that, you've had, talks with Nancy Pelosi and you, I remember seeing her come out and say that legalization will never happen, and saying that, maybe you can do decriminalization or something. Do you feel that you can actually make some headway in the next few years?
Oh yes. Well, the headway is being made and it's already been made to a certain extent. You know, Nancy Pelosi went on YouTube, a YouTube clip at the Democratic National Convention, and she said, well, people need to write Congress because, you know, we need to hear from people about this. There needs to be a grassroots effort. Well, then several months later, after Barack Obama was elected, and we have the Open for Questions forum, not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times marijuana prohibition, ending marijuana prohibition comes in at the top of the list. Well, I'd say people spoke out. Right? I hope that's enough for her.
What else do you lobby on besides legalization? Do you lobby on other issues in Illinois?
Yes. This week I testified before the House Appropriations Committee on the Subcommittee on Commerce, Justice, Science, which handles the DOJ, handles the DEA. And we asked them to do 3 things. One was to come up with a very clear articulated policy on the medical marijuana rates in California.